A few months ago, I sat down with my good friend Bo Lindell from up in Canada. The episode was titled Making an Impact. I encourage you to go give it a listen, as it truly was a great show. Bo's the owner and founder of the Locked and Tag brand, and if you haven't checked out his online store, you really need to. He has men's and women's clothing, youth clothing, hats, cups, mugs, laptop sleeves, flags, and many other cool accessories. Go to lockedandtag.com and at checkout, enter Line Talkers for a discount. I was talking to my friend Chad this week about what all people who are now in their 80s and 90s have seen in their lifetime. From the Great Depression through many wars and the advancements in technology, advancements in the automobile, aviation, communication, the internet. It's really amazing to look back and see where we were and where we're at now. I look at the tooling and equipment that we have in the power line business and how it has advanced just in the last 30 years. These improvements have made us safer, more efficient, just really better off all around. I remember being an apprentice, and I kept close to me my Electricity 1.7 book, my Uglies reference book, the Lineman and Cableman handbook, and then there was that General Electric Distribution Transformer reference book. Well, Trenton Carlock is a lineman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he saw a need to create an app, an electronic method to help learn and maintain basic knowledge on transformer connections. His company, Digital Apprentice LLC, recently created an app that allows users to build different transformer banks. I sat down with him recently, and although it was just very few minutes, I can tell you what I learned is that he is a visionary. It's people like him that's going to make a change in this business, one vision at a time.
Hey, my name is Trenton Carlock, and I am the creator of the Lineman's Reference Transformer Lab, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. I got into this industry in 2017. I went to NLC, and then when I graduated in spring, I went straight into distribution contracting in West Texas. Mainly just did reconducts and stuff out there. It was about 5 hours away from home, so that wasn't too fun, but eventually got on a crew that came to DFW where I was closer to home, ended up getting hired on to that power company after about a year and a half of contracting. And I've been there for a little bit over 3 years now. I journeyed out in November. Yeah, I've learned a lot since I joined the power company because they make us take call, and then you can volunteer for almost as much as you want. And you learn a lot when you're troubleshooting, especially about transformers. I learned how to do reconducts really well when I was contracting because that's all we did.
So I assume that when you were in lineman college that one of the tasks was transformer connections, right? Is that where this idea came from, or tell me a little bit about the app and how this was?
Okay, so when I went to NLC, there was, I think, a 2-week period where we learned about transformers. They had a little hands-on transformer lab where you actually built banks and wired up little houses and lights and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. And then they had a classroom portion where you learned the theory and other stuff behind it there. But I remember whenever I was in NLC, I actually looked on the app stores and looked on the computer and kind of searched around, and I couldn't find anything. I was actually looking for some kind of interactive transformer simulator to kind of help me at home instead of just drawing it out on pen and paper over and over again and not really knowing if I was doing it right. So that's kind of where the first little idea for it happened. I got busy building power lines in West Texas and didn't really think about it again until about the end of 2020. Growing up, I always kind of liked doing stuff on the computer. I taught myself how to do 3D modeling. I built some websites and stuff for some small businesses locally. And I did some basic game development and stuff all while I was in high school. So now I kind of just put all that together and figured out how to make this app happen.
I imagine it had to be a huge feat. I wouldn't even know where to start, honestly, to the level that, to be honest, to the level that the app is. So, I mean, I told you I purchased the app and I played with it a little bit. Man, I would have loved to have that when I was an apprentice. And I told you, even once I became a journeyman, it would have been a great reference tool. You think you know everything, you think you've seen all the connections, and then when you get out there, there's always something that you get schooled on really quick. So, can you tell me what all the app?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what all the app offers just kind of go over it a little bit? Of course, I like I say, I spent a lot of time on it last night. Just talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. So as of right now, the app offers just kind of basic banks. You've got Delta 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 Y, Y Delta Y Y, and then those are the closed banks for three-phase. Now, open banks that it offers is Y Delta and Delta Delta. And then there's also three miscellaneous apps, which is Fourth Cutout Lab, Troubleshooting Lab, which is very basic, and then a Paralleling Lab, which is also very basic, just paralleling two single-phase transformers. And there's also some informational sections where it's just a bunch of literature to read through that I kind of typed up. There's a quiz mode where it just gives you random labs and then it scores you at the end. And that's all I have on the app right now, but I do have quite a bit planned for the app's future as well.
Like I say, I messed with it last night for quite a bit, and I could see myself using it a lot, honestly. What kind of response are you seeing? You know, I think I saw, and of course, I've learned through the last couple of years since I've been doing the show with Instagram, Facebook, there's going to be haters out there, right? Like, there's going to be people, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into anything, and there's going to be people that are...
Oh, yeah. And, yeah, honestly, there's been people that, they're, oh, well, I would never spend $10 on an app and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that's fine. That's just, what I thought long and hard. It took me a little over a year to develop this, and the whole time I was thinking about how much it should cost. That's the price. So if people pay for it, they pay for it. If they don't, they don't. But, I mean, other than that, I've gotten pretty decent feedback from it. And I try to take all of that feedback to heart and really listen to it because I'm trying to make something that people want, right, and that people can learn from. I noticed with, like, just a few quality of life things is, like, when I was developing this, I'd get so tunnel visioned and I wouldn't think of just really obvious solutions to things or really just obvious suggestions. And so the first 2 or 3 weeks after I did the full launch in late December, I was just trying to roll out updates as quickly as I could with the good ideas that people were giving me. Got a lot of stuff planned for the future. There are ideas that people have given me. Working on some stuff right now on how I guess that I've had probably a half dozen people reach out to me. I was always taught transformers is basically building a bus work for tying the transformers together. And I guess there's some co-ops that prefer you to tie the transformers together through the secondary, like through the quadruplex. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to make the app compatible for that as well. That's what I'm working on currently. This is one of those things where the more I think about it, the more like I don't think this app will ever be completely finished. I feel like Transformers is just too broad of a subject. I feel like I'll always be adding stuff to it.
So let me ask you this. How much have you learned about Transformers by building this app?
I've learned so much more than I thought that I would need to. That's for sure. I've been recently trying to learn vectors. I don't consider myself an expert on Transformers at all. And I know that might not necessarily be what people want to hear that are, looking for this app, but I mean, that's just the honest truth. That's why I like the feedback and the suggestions so much, is because I don't consider myself an expert.
Right.
I'm just trying to get something out there to help people learn. And if I got to start with the basics, then, that's where I'm starting. Right now, I'm trying to learn more about vectors and stuff like that, because I feel like that'd be really cool to put in the app. But yeah, I mean, I've learned a ton. I don't think it's possible for me to forget, the basic three-phase lab wirings now. It's ingrained into it's engraved into my brain.
Well, I thought I would always remember it too, but I'll tell you, when I pulled your app up and it asked for the basic connections of a YY or Delta Y, I did have to scratch my head a little bit and say, okay, now let's go back in that file cabinet in my 52-year-old brain and try to find where those transformer connections are. Yeah, it's really a cool app, man. I hope that you are very successful with it. I'm sure you already are. For the people that have used it, the reason I asked what I did earlier, what I asked earlier about, there's a lot of haters. My home boss Jessica and we talked tonight, and we were talking about change, right? And we're talking about how people just hate change, no matter what it is. People just it's like, but the business is so much different than it was when I started now with, people, they may not like the app, but I remember people didn't like bucket trucks. I remember when I first went to the utility.
Right.
Yeah, when I went to the utility, there were still troublemen riding around in vans and pickup trucks with hooks and ladders, and would not have anything to do with a bucket truck.
Yeah.
Things have changed a lot in the industry, and I appreciate what
I think the main thing is with this app is it, like, I know there's other transformer simulators out there. I'm not going to claim to be the first one. I'm just the first one to make it publicly accessible. I know that certain apprenticeships have them, and there's certain companies will try to sell them to like power companies and whatnot for their apprenticeships, but they come with a really high price tag. And I just remember when I was first getting into line work at NLC, trying to study and get good grades and whatnot, and I just so hard when you're not actually in the classroom for transformers. It was for me. So you can look at a diagram and you can copy the diagram on paper and you can write it out. For me anyways, I could write it out 100 times and it would still just like, I don't understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'll still forget certain connections. It's kind of like having somebody over your shoulder going, oh, you're doing it wrong, you need to do this instead, or okay, you did a good job. And this is the voltage that you're going to get if you do that. I think that's one of the biggest parts of it, is just having that live feedback.
Yeah, no, I agree. And when you close the cutouts on your app, it's a little different than closing them in real life, and even in the simulator, it's a little different.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's a cool product. It's designed very, very well. It's easy to use. I encourage anybody. I want to get into a little bit more about what your future plans are, and I'm going to kind of skip ahead a little bit, but I'm asking the listeners if you want to see something really cool. I'm sure that Trenton will give you the information on the app here just in a second. But what are your plans for the? You talked a little bit about what you said, it was never ending, but where do you see this in 5 years? Do you see more applications? You getting into this more? What do you see where do you see you in 5 years? What's your future look like?
I mean, I do have other ideas as well. I don't know if it would fit into this app or an additional app, but I want to get into, we do a lot of underground at the utility that I'm working for right now. There's not so much transformer connections and wiring and stuff that's the issue, that's the hard stuff to learn. It's more the troubleshooting and whatnot. So I've been thinking about trying to get that into a mobile simulator, kind of help people, but that's another one of those things that I struggled with the current app, is that everybody does stuff differently, and it's hard to make something that fits everybody's kind of process and their work guidelines. So, but as far as the future goes, I don't know, honestly. I mean, since day one, I've kind of just been figuring it out as I go, and I kind of just want to see where this goes. I still like working for the company that I'm working for, so I don't think I'll quit that anytime soon, because I like working there and I like troubleshooting and being on call. So
all your coworkers have the app? All your coworkers have the app?
Sorry?
Do all your coworkers have the app?
Yeah, I actually gave it to all my coworkers for free.
You gave it to them, man. We've had this discussion.
Well, they've been my guinea pigs.
I hear you.
They've been my guinea pigs for the past year.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm sure they appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, man, that's a cheap price to pay for that kind of help.
I totally agree. It's a heck of a deal, in my mind.
Yeah.
But I know you sent me the link to the code to download it for free. But like I told you, you're not going to make it your time back, your money back on your time investment for free, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. I had a coworker do the same thing to me. I sent him a code and he was like, "Nope, we support each other. I'm buying it." And I was like, "Dang it, dude, you don't have to buy it.
Yeah.
You helped me out so much already."
Right. Yeah, we're happy to help here too, and that's kind of my next question, and kind of wrapping this up. So what can we do? What can the listeners do to help you? You know, what can we do? What social media platforms are you on? Or what social media platforms are you on? And what can we do here?
Okay, so I mean, the simplest thing that the listeners can do, what y'all can do for me, is just tell people about it. It's just called XFMR Lab, XFMR Lab, Lineman's Reference XFMR Lab in the App Store, and just tell people about it. If you're an apprentice or you just want to brush up on your transformer knowledge, give it a shot.